Demystifying PhD Admission in Computer Science, written by ThanhVu Nguyen, read by Zakir Hassan, Mymensingh, Bangladesh, March 2026. Part 2, Application Materials. Son, if you really want something in this life, you have to work for it. Now, quite they are about to announce the lottery numbers. The Simpsons. The goal of AdCom is to evaluate your research experience, potential, and interest to see if you fit into its PhD program. The emphasis here is fitting, which varies from school to school, faculty to faculty, and even from year to year. The committee will look at various factors, but the most important ones are letters of recommendation, LORs, statement of purpose, SOP, and research background and experience. For example, publications. Chapter 3, Letter of Recommendation, LOR. To whom it may concern. Oh, The Simpsons. Letter of recommendation, LORs, are crucial for PhD because they paint a picture of your research ability and potential from someone who has worked closely with you. And Yetcom trusts the opinions of your LO writers, who are usually faculty members or researchers who have the expertise and reputation to evaluate your research ability. Most PhD programs require at least two LORs. LOR writers. Choose your LOR writers carefully, as they can make or break your application. LOR writers are often your research advisors and professors who have mentored you in research. A strong LOR is from people who meet the following two criteria: personal knowledge. They should know you well enough and have worked closely with you through research projects, much preferred, or cross work. This allows them to write a letter that is personalized and specific to you. Credibility. They should have sufficient expertise and reputation to effectively assess and vouch for your research capabilities and potential. Ideally, your recommender should be an active researcher with a PhD or extensive research experience. LOR from well-known people. Having a strong letter from well-recognized researcher can significantly boost your application. Such letters can outweigh other weaknesses such as limited publications or low GPA. AdCom members trust people they know or have heard about and respect. A well-known researcher is unlikely to recommend someone who is not good because it would damage their reputation. However, don't worry if you haven't worked directly with well-known researchers. A strong personalized recommendation from someone who knows you well, even if less famous, is far more valuable than a generic letter from a prominent figure who barely knows you. So again, the emphasis is on personalized and research-focused letters. The fame is a bonus, not a requirement. Generic letters are bad. When the writers do not know much about the applicants, for example, just taking some course with them or not making any impression to write about, they might write a generic and short letter, which is not useful and also considered weak. This does not mean the reference writer is not good or does not care about you, but they just do not know you well enough to write a strong letter. So it might be a good idea to directly ask if the prof is willing to write a strong letter for you. If not, then you should ask someone else. For example, if a student I don't know well asks me to write a letter for them, I will explicitly tell them I don't know them that well to write much about them, and such a short, generic, and weak letter will not help their case. Alerts from department chair, dean, or supervisor at work. Many students, especially international applicants, try to get alerts from high-ranking administrators in their universities, such as department chair or head, dean, or director. The students never worked with these people. They might take a class or so with these profs, but mistakenly believe that these awards are valuable due to the writer's high position in the university. However, as mentioned in 3.1.2, such a generic award has little value because the writer does not know you well and can talk in depth about your research ability. Moreover, while being well known and respected in your local university, these writers might not be very active in research. For example, haven't published in recent years. Thus, they might not be well known and recognized by ADCOM members. Many students get letters from supervisors from companies where they did internships or are working. It is okay as long as it is a research-based personalized letter. Again, the emphasis here is research. For example, the letters should describe your research experience and potential. Letters focusing on non-research projects at a company won't carry much weight. Finally, despite best intentions, the writers might not have the experience to write a strong LWR or lack the ability to evaluate your research ability. This is unfortunate but common, and if you are in this situation, you should find someone else to write for you. Self-written letters are bad. Many letter writers ask students to write their own letters, a common practice in many countries. Unfortunately, such letters have little value and are considered weak by reviewers. Why can you not even find someone who cares or knows enough about you to write a candid personal reference letter? Instead of the reference writer talking about you, in it is you who write about yourself, and they just sign the letter. Self-written letters are easy to spot because an experienced professor would write differently compared to an undergraduate student. For example, they can provide convincing and concrete examples based on their experience and compare you to their own students. And of course, the writing style is different. Imagine the difference between a letter written by a professor who has been writing letters for decades and a letter written by an undergraduate student who has never written a letter before. Even if the student has subscribed to ChatGPT Plus, worse yet, if we suspect that the student wrote the letter is a red flag, as we will question both the student's integrity and the letter writer's credibility because they allow this to happen. Asking for L-words. As mentioned in 3.1, L-word writers should be someone who knows you well and has the credibility to evaluate your research ability. In the US, it's common for students to explicitly ask if the writer would be willing to provide a strong letter, and the writer are also very direct in their response. If they are not willing, then you should ask someone else. You should also be thankful that they are honest with you. Many students get stressed asking for L-words because they worry that the writers might refuse to write for them. Figure 3.1 is meant to be a joke but reflects a common concern. However, in my experience, most writers are willing to write for students who have worked with them and done well. Below are some tips to approach your Elva writers. Ask in advance. You should ask for LWRs at least a month before the deadline. People have commitments, and writing a strong LWR takes time. So give them enough time to write a strong letter for you. Wipe your right. You should always wipe your right to see the letter. This shows that you trust your writers and that you are not trying to twist their words. Help your writers. You should tell your writers the programs you are applying to, their deadlines, etc. You can also share your SOP with them and other details about your research experience and potential. Ask for feedback. If the writer is very close to you and willing to, you can ask them for feedback on your SOP and other application materials. If the writer is a professor, they might have served in AdCom committees, seen many SOPs, and can provide valuable feedback. Follow up and stay in touch. Follow up with your writers to make sure they have submitted the letters on time. Note that their letters might have a different due date than your application. After your writers have submitted all of their letters, thank them. Let them know the outcome of your applications and stay in touch with them. This will help you build a relationship with them and you might need them to write for you again in the future. Waiving your right. When you ask someone to write a letter for you, you should always waive your right. Choosing not to look at a reference letter is pretty standard in school and job applications. When you waive your right to see the letter, it adds a layer of trust, showing you are confident in your choice of referees and that you are not trying to twist their words. It's also about keeping things open and honest between you and your letter writers and encourage them to be real about your strengths and qualifications. Plus, it keeps things private. If you do not waive your right, the letter writer might refuse to write for you or write a generic letter that does not help your case. Reviewers also might raise concern about a letter that is not waived. For example, if you do not trust your letter writers, then you should find someone else to write for you. In short, it's a standard practice and a way of keeping things straightforward and respectful in the whole recommendation game. Helping your LOR writer. As mentioned in 3.1.2 and 3.1.4, you should not write your own letter, and generic letters do not give much value. Thus, to help your writer to write a strong, customized LOR, you can provide them details or unique things about yourself. For example, let them know about your GPA, research and work experience, papers, if any, or anything you want them to mention. If the GPA in your program is highly competitive and they know that, remind them to talk about it in the LWAR. You can also provide them with a draft of your SOP so that they can see what you are saying about yourself and complement that with their own perspective. Sometimes your writer will explicitly ask you for such information, but if not, you should provide it anyway, especially if you have not interacted with them much or have not done much research with them. Reminding your writer. After entering your writer's information in the application system, you should tell your writers about that and let them know they will soon receive an email from the university to submit their letters. You should also tell them when you submit your application and remind them to submit their letters on time if they haven't done so. Note that most places only have deadlines for the applicant, but are very flexible with the letter writers. In many cases, your LOR writers are not given any deadline. Figure 3.2 lists several LOR invitation emails I received from various universities in the past few years. Also, many places do not begin the admission review process right after the deadline and work on application reviews in the next semester, mid-January. Thus, you do want to send reminders because professors can be quite busy and might forget to submit their letters, especially when there is no explicit deadline. However, do not send too many reminders, as that can be annoying to the writers. Thanking and updating your writers. After your application is submitted and your writers have submitted their letters, for example, the audit begins. You should send quick thank you notes to your writers. This serves both as an acknowledgement that you know they have submitted the letters and as an appreciation for their help. You should also update them with the outcome of your application, regardless of whether you are admitted or not. In addition to being a common courtesy, this can also help maintain a good relationship with your writers, which can be useful in the future. For example, if you need another letter for another round of applications or for a job reference. More generally, you should do the same for anyone who has helped you during the application process, such as profs who provided advice, mentors who guided you, and friends and family who supported you. My perspective. In this Reddit post, I provided my perspective about LWRs and what I expect from my students when they ask me to write for them. You can share this with your writers if you think it is useful. How do I write a LWR? If a student asks me to write letter for them, I will generally agree. Yes, I believe it is my responsibility. I will ask them to wipe the ride to see the letter and will not write if they do not do so. I'll also let the student know if I cannot write a strong letter for them. For example, I don't know them that well and suggest they find someone else. If they insist, then I will write for them. While I try to say something positive, for example, the student is hardworking and receive good grades, the letter will still be short and weak. Usually it takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to write such a weak letter. Strong letters will require a lot more time and effort, as it will be personalized. While I have a general template for LWR, it still can take me half an hour or more to write it. I often ask the students to provide information and what they think I should highlight in the letter. They can also provide me their SOP if they already have written one, so I can complement what they say with my own perspective. I often do not share what I write with the students just to keep it more genuine and honest. My letter always has the university letterhead and my signature. While having a letterhead or signing the letter is not required, I never paid much attention to this when reading LWRs. It makes the letter more official and professional. The website has the template of the letter with letterhead and signature. I and most profs often do not write a new letter or customize the letter for each application or school. Instead, I write you a LWR which is customized for you but can be used to apply for multiple schools. Dear Admissions Committee instead of Dear MIT Admissions Committee. Finally, I usually submit a letter for a student in batch. Submit to all universities that student is applying to at the same time. Typically, each submission takes about 1 to 5 minutes, depending on the application system. I'll also let the student know when I have submitted the letter and ask if I miss any. Will it be annoying if you ask for many letters? As mentioned in 3.3, I personally do not mind writing many letters for my students once I have agreed to write for them. Profs in general are used to writing many letters, especially during the application season. Moreover, once a letter is written, it can be reused for multiple applications, so it does not take much time to submit the letter to different universities. Not more than 5 minutes per submission. However, some cases might raise some eyebrows. For example, if you only aim at very top schools that the writers believe are not a good fit for you, or if you apply to too many schools, 30 plus, then the writers might question your seriousness or your ability to get into these schools. In short, Don't overdo it. But applying to 10 to 15 schools is perfectly fine and common.